and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Cupertino City Council on November 5th, 2018. Although today is Monday evening, we're having this regularly scheduled meeting per our municipal code because, of course, tomorrow is the election day and we have our regular meetings on the day before the city-based elections. So if you would please join us in pledging allegiance to our nation's flag. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Madam City Clerk, if you would please conduct the roll call.
Councilmember Barry Chang.
Here.
Councilmember Stephen Scharf.
Here.
Councilmember Savita Vaidyanathan.
Here.
Vice Mayor Rod Sinks.
Here.
Mayor Darcy Paul.
Here. And I'll report out on a couple of closed session items that we've had since our prior meeting on October 30th at 4 p.m. That was a Tuesday. There was a conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation where there was significant exposure to that litigation. An update was provided and direction was given. There was another closed session meeting on November 1st, 2018. That was Thursday at 9 a.m. That had to do with public employee recruitment regarding the city manager position. An update was provided and direction was given. However, no final action was taken. And that is the report out for our closed sessions ever since our last council meeting. Today, I haven't placed any ceremonial items or presentations on the agenda. I felt in the interest of being efficient and given the timing, it was probably more important to have a streamlined meeting. Madam City Clerk, do we have any postponements for tonight's meeting?
No postponements, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you very much. I have two blue cards at the moment for oral communications. They are from Julia Miyakawa and Jennifer Griffin. Welcome, Julia. If you have any other blue cards, please provide them to our city clerk. Per our usual practice, we have 3 minutes available for each speaker. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. And once again, welcome, Julia.
Yes, my name is Julia Miyakawa, and I live right on Fairlawn Drive. And I'm here to speak regarding the resolution 18-081. There was a request by email on October 7th by a very concerned resident to correct the resolution that approved the Regnart Creek Trail feasibility study. The approved resolution as written was not what was verbally communicated by Rod Sink's motion and a second by Barry Chang back in August 21st. There was no authorization for construction of the Regnart Creek Trail. The vote was to proceed only with the design and environmental review of the project, but the word construction was inserted. On October 17th, the resolution was administratively corrected. Another request was also made to correct Public Works website and the city's response letter to the Water District in regard to the Water District's response to the feasibility study. This has all been taken care of. It is important for public records to be accurate and reflect what was voted on, especially for future new hires and newly elected council members. The city must pay closer attention to details of public records. The current city mayor and city manager agree that more attention to detail is needed. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Julia. Our next speaker is Jennifer Griffin. Welcome, Jennifer.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Jennifer Griffin, and I just wanted to report on a meeting in San Jose last Wednesday. Wednesday at 9 a.m. last week, we went down to the San Jose City Council chambers for the hearing from the Director of Planning Department on the Stern Gas Station Hotel. As you all know, that there is a 10-story, 187-room hotel proposed for a half-acre lot where there's a Shell gas station at Stern and Stevens Creek Boulevard on the eastern end of Cupertino. Stern and Stevens Creek is an intersection that is shared by Santa Clara, Cupertino, and part of West San Jose. The West San Jose lots actually have Cupertino addresses, so I would determine that that is Cupertino's sphere of influence. The item was postponed. It will possibly be reheard this Wednesday at 9 a.m., or it will be 2 weeks. It will be the following Wednesday. I have not received any communication from anyone yet as to whether it will be this Wednesday or the next one after that. They had received some information that they had to analyze. I will state again that this is an extremely bad location for a hotel. It's a busy intersection, it's congested, and it's already too loaded with its own issues. Another item that shows up issues with San Jose's planning and choice of their planning is that if they eliminate the Shell gas station, there will be no other gas station eastward into Cupertino, into San Jose, down to Santana Row for 2 square miles. Now, to me, that means that that is a ding on San Jose's planning, because a gas station is an amenity, especially if you're loading in a 187-room hotel into an intersection. You're going to have Ubers, and this has 47% reduced parking. You're going to have demand for gas, and that is that if San Jose does allow this, then that is a slap on their planning, that they're not looking for their residents. That is poor urban planning. We have a Rotten Robbie's that is about, I don't know, maybe 200, 300 feet westward into Cupertino, but it's already been loaded down with the Appletute campus traffic from 280, from Tantau. I see that every day. The other issue is that who are we building this hotel for? It has no amenities for the neighbors. It's unattractive. It's orange and red, looks like a parasol. I wouldn't want to stay there. Let's build a nice hotel further eastward into West San Jose and have it be something that the neighbors can use too. I think this is a housing tower, and they will change the zoning on us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Our next speaker is Robert McCoy, followed by Connie Cunningham, followed by Gary Wong. Welcome, Robert.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Robert McCoy. I am the Vice Chair of the Public Safety Commission. Tonight, however, I am speaking to you as a member of the community. For over 4 years now, our community has been held hostage by a so-called grassroots movement. This group claims to be pro-resident based on their behavior here in this chamber and elsewhere. They clearly have no respect for different opinions held by their neighbors. Rather than foster community dialogue, they have taken a social media platform Nextdoor to establish an iron grip on dissenting views. There they promote their own followers as leads and proceed to censor speech which they disagree and to bully innocent members of this community into silence. On a daily basis, they bombard this community nonstop with their rhetoric and allegations of corruption. They continue to claim that upstanding members of this body are on the take and in the developer's pocket. They busily campaign for their own candidates in violation of the Nextdoor rules. Many members of this community, including myself, are routinely vilified, slandered, called shills, and accused of secretly working for developers. Given the volume of this abuse, it is no wonder that Nextdoor cannot keep up with this behavior, and it worsens day by day. This city encouraged the community to use Nextdoor so we could get to know one another. One group has hijacked it for their own purpose and stifled public discourse. This platform was designed to bring communities together, but in this case, it is a vehicle of division. One of these so-called pro-resident leaders is our own council member, Stephen Scharf, who will post about his colleagues having lack of ethics, morals, and integrity. This despite having previously been banned from the platform for creating numerous fake accounts to create an artificial echo chamber for himself and his ideas. This moral duplicity seeps into real life, Where were your ethic, morals, and integrity on Sunday evening while you sped up and down De Anza and Stevens Creek Boulevard for close to an hour, honking your horn nonstop, being a nuisance, creating a disturbance, while endangering the motorists who shared the road with you as your friends cheered you on, all of which I recorded? How can you think this kind of egregious behavior is acceptable here in our community? You are paid to represent. Clearly, you only care about yourself, your friends, and your own agenda. As a resident, I want to make it absolutely crystal clear, Mr. Scharf in no way represents me or my best interests. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Our next speaker is Connie Cunningham, followed by Gary Wong. Welcome, Connie.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. It's my pleasure to be here. I regret I can't come as often as I would like. My name is Connie Cunningham. I'm a 31-year resident of Cupertino. And the first thing I want to do is to express my deep appreciation for the fine work that you do as our city council. Your dedication to the city and its people is apparent in everything that you do. You listen, you ask insightful questions, you collaborate with other key agencies and organizations. And I thank you all for your service. I was disappointed that the Valco decision was only 3-2 in favor. During the Opticos charrette process that I participated in, a key value of our residents was housing for all incomes and abilities. Tier 2 included 20% affordable housing for all incomes and abilities. It also included significant community benefits for education, open space, and traffic mitigation. I realize the referendum signatures may have caused this to stop, but I don't understand that process, so I won't remark on that particular thing further. In March of 2018, I spoke to this council about my pure delight when I read that Sandhills Valco SB 35 proposal would provide over 1,000 units of affordable housing. The mix is not as robust as that in the Tier 2. However, it is 1,000 units for people who currently cannot live in Cupertino. That is huge. Over 2,000 homes includes another 1,000 for people who can't afford market rate, and that's wonderful too. I think the ratio of jobs housing mix is not as important for this project as the actual number of homes. Do not let the perfect get in the way of the good. Without Tier 2, if that is what happens to us, I honestly don't know that. The SB 35 is a very good project for Valco. I want to thank you all again for your service this term and your positive decision on the Valco specific plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Our next speaker is Gary Wong, and that is the last speaker card I have at this moment. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Mayor Paul, Vice Mayor Sinks, council members. I am the president of the Campo de Lozano Homeowners Association along Regner Creek, and I just have a few comments regarding the feasibility study and the activities that follow. Our neighbor, Julia, had mentioned that apparently the feasibility study was approved without taking into consideration the comments from the Water District. The Water District, I think, is a material partner in this process because they're the landholder, and you know, without taking into consideration their comments, it seems like there was a rush to judgment. I don't know how that happened or why that happened, but it seemed it would have been appropriate to defer approval until a fully informed decision could have been made. At that meeting, it was stated that the design and EIR would take place. It would take about 6 months to complete. It's been over 2 months. No one from the city has contacted any of the residents on De Palma Lane or Lozano Lane. So I'm not sure where we are in that process in the EIR. And if someone from the city could contact us and let us know how we can get information on that process. We don't know if a notice of preparation has been issued or if a scoping meeting is being planned or will be called. So again, we'd like a little bit more transparency in this process so that we can, participate in a trail or no trail that, be satisfactory to all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Our next speaker card is from Lisa Warren. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, didn't plan to speak tonight, but I can't not say something after hearing Robert McCoy speak. So simply, I just want to say for many of the comments he made, that good? I'm too tall. I would just like to say for many of the comments that Robert McCoy stated tonight, there are numerous rebuttals out there, I'm sure, or the, wow, put the shoe on the other foot kind of comments. So, and a big part of what happens on Nextdoor particularly is people who comment automatically get lumped into one bucket or another, which is unfair to everyone. So I could get more direct at what I want to say, but I don't think it's appropriate here. There are issues in our community, we all know. There are issues with Nextdoor. There were issues with many, many things. And there was also some questionable optics in our plaza here related to certain people and other hired people in this whole process lately. Thank you.
Okay, I have a speaker card from a fellow council member from Barry Chang. All right, and Barry is representing himself, and so welcome, Barry.
Sure, council member, honorable mayor and the vice mayor. My name is Barry Chen. I'm a 33-year resident of Cupertino. And the reason I'm speaking here because I cannot speak at the dais on the oral communication. That's why I'm stepping down. I want to say the tort claim filed by former city attorney, all the accusations are false. There's no merit, no
Excuse me,
fact.
Councilmember, for purposes of the record, you need to clarify that you're speaking as a resident, private resident, and not in your capacity as a council member.
Right, so I'm
this is
speaking
an item
as myself. I'm not speaking as a capacity of the city council, okay? So
and I caution you that this is an item that is currently under potential litigation, so I caution you on your comments.
I understand, okay? So I want to say it very clearly. I decided because in the tort claim, it accused me threatening him in the text. And I want to disclose, publicize the text today. So everybody can see it yourself, okay?
And Mr. Mayor, for the record, Councilmember Mary Chang has the same time allotted to other individuals, and I may have to interfere or intervene in the course of his remarks. I was not notified he would be
Nor was I. So
Right.
please continue. You have 1 minute and 40 seconds left.
This is my official statement. I will let you see the text message in between.
Councilmember Chang, I would caution you to pause and take a moment and consult with legal counsel before you proceed.
No, I already talked to the council already, so I know what I'm doing, okay?
Okay, for the record, you have not discussed this with me.
I did not discuss with you, and I did not discuss with any one of you out there, okay? It's my decision. I will take the whole responsibility because I feel it's so unjust, so unfair for the false accusation all the time. And this is my last month staying on the council, so I need to publicize the fact that people make a judgment themselves. So this, you can see the name there. I'll just move it up.
Mr. Mayor, this needs to stop. Unfortunately, this has to do with attorney-client communications. Mr. Barry Chang does not have the authority to release them or waive them on behalf of the council. Only the council does. I do sympathize with this situation, but we need to move on to the next item.
All right, Councilmember Chang, I'm going to shut down the comment. You have a very brief amount of time left regardless. If you care to make any brief closing comment, please do. But with
My
regard to
comment-
disclosing privileged information,
It's not privileged information, it's my own information, but that's okay. No, I respect what the city attorney's point of view, but I just want to let everybody know the accusation are false, not fact, no merit, and in fact, you did not see the last one. The last one, Mr. Holm texted me on May 7 and apologized for what he did. Okay, so I have all this fact. If anything he accused me to, why he have to apologize to me? I just want to end it here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Madam City Clerk, do we have any more speaker cards under oral communications?
No, Mr. Mayor.
I think this is I think this is an appropriate time to bring up a follow-up to a prior comment from the public. And I've received these with regard to requests for our city staff or city council to follow up on oral communications. I did interface with the city clerk's office as well as city manager's office and mentioned that I would like to bring to the council the possibility of adjusting these speaker cards such that people can leave their email addresses if they want to follow up from city council or from staff. And so if it is appropriate for us to go ahead and agendize that in a future meeting, I would like to request to do so at this point. But if we could proceed with discussing it at this point, I'd be open to that as well. Madam City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The suggestion is a very good one. It's something that staff can move forward without council need to agendize it unless council so choose.
Well, would my council colleagues be amenable to adding that line on our speaker cards to ask people to provide contact information in the form of an email address if they want follow-up from our staff or council on the item that they're speaking about?
I mean, I think follow-up from staff is appropriate.
From staff?
I'm not
Okay.
sure if, I think it should come through staff to city council.
All right,
I mean, they're still free to email us
of course.
directly, and I respond to most of those emails, right away. So
Very good.
we can always do that.
So follow-up, through staff. Councilmember Sharf, Councilmember Vaidyanathan?
I'm not so sure we should require them to give it because I was informed way back, maybe a year ago, that we can't even ask for their names.
Oh, it would make it
So-
optional. It would
So
say
it has to be
optional on
very
there.
clear that it's
Yeah.
optional and they're doing it on their own accord.
Of course. Okay, great. Councilmember Chang or Vice Mayor Sinks, do you care to weigh in on that topic? Vice Mayor.
Frankly, I think we ought to be, agendizing our processes and procedures rather than commenting on them at this time. I think there are a number of things that we need to look at doing, improving, but I feel that since this is not on the agenda tonight, we should take it up at a later date. Thanks.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let me go ahead and ask that we do that in an appropriate fashion. We don't have our acting city attorney on the dais at this point, so let's move on to the next item on our agenda, which is our consent calendar. These are items on our regularly scheduled agenda, items 1 through 6. Would anyone care to bring a motion with regard to our consent calendar items?
Well, I'd like to pull item 2.
Okay, Councilmember Sharf requests that item number 2 be pulled. That has to do with the Second Amendment agreement with Avicet Technologies. Would anyone else like to pull or bring a motion forward? Councilmember Sharf?
Sure, I'll make a motion to adopt the consent calendar except for item 2.
Okay, Councilmember Sharf's motion is for items 1 through 6, excluding item number 2. Is there a second?
Second.
Vice Mayor Sink seconds. Please vote with your lights.
The motion carries unanimously.
Excellent. Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Our item number 2 is a second amendment agreement with Avocet Technologies for professional services in implementing Excella permitting and land management system. I see that we have our Director of Information Technology, Bill Mitchell, here tonight. Thank you, Bill, for being here. Would you care to give us a brief summary of this item?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. So Avocet Technology, the first agreement was signed. This is for a land management system that's replacing our existing Magnet land management system. It was first approved in June of 2017. At that time, we agreed to go with an out-of-the-box solution, which meant no customization whatsoever. As we started going through implementation and configuration, we found out very quickly that out-of-the-box was going to have a significant impact on both customer service to our residents as well as staff. So we brought forward an item to you in December of 2017 asking for amendment number 1. So amendment 1 was passed. Now where we're at is we're working through workflow configuration. We've come across a few items that we would like to change. Most of this has to do with our building and planning department, over-the-counter permitting to make it easier and more efficient for our customers, again, and staff as well. So this Amendment 2 has 4 components to it. The first component is the change to the original scope of work. That's about $44,000. The second and third part has to do with items that we brought forward to you in the budget hearing for fiscal year 2019. That's integrating into existing platforms and conversion of data of existing platforms. The first one is Building Eye. Building Eye is our application that allows people on a graphical map to see permitting that's happening within their area. That's Building Eye. The second one is conversion of data from Pentimation. Pentimation was the land management system in our financial system prior to Magnet and New World. So New World financial system's up and running. When we go with Avocet, the planning and permitting folks have asked us to bring forward that data. That was not initial request. That was a request that happened after the fact. So we're working with those. Those add an additional $46,000, those 2 products. And then finally, although I love to come forward and chat with you guys, I figure that if we put a contingency of here of $19,000, I won't need to see, and you'll hear my story one more time. So that's what that makes up. That's where we're at this time. I open to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Director Mitchell. Any questions for Bill? Councilmember Scharf?
I mean, I'm just concerned that this has gone up by 36% since it was
So initially, you're absolutely correct. So initially, where we're at was the out of the box. We were hoping to do this as fast and as efficiently as possible. To be candid with you, Councilmember Scharf, that was not in the cards when we started really looking at what the impact of the customers would be, the public portal, the process that they would go through. It was just too many steps and too difficult to go through that process. We decided to do in-house some customization that would make it more user-friendly as well as assist with staff.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Scharf. Any further questions from council on this item? Madam City Clerk, do we have any speaker cards on item number 2?
No, Mr. Mayor.
No? Okay. I'll bring it back up to the dais with regard to considering a motion on the item. Would anyone like to bring a motion on item number 2? Either for voting or for purposes of discussion, further discussion?
I move to approve the Second Amendment agreement with the Avocet Technology Inc. for professional service in implementing Excella permitting and the land management system.
Is there a second on the motion?
Sure, I'll second it.
Okay, great. Well, Councilmember Scharf, I appreciate the questions, and good to follow up with regard to any added expenditures, of course. And Vice Mayor Sings.
I'll add a comment that these are complex systems. I generally have been, yes, also concerned about our deployment of these systems, but And really appreciate that we've tried to move as much as possible toward off the shelf. And I recognize there are times when we've had to make modifications, and I think we trust you. I think that's the vote you're going to get. And hope you're not coming back, but you know, this is very tricky stuff. And I think when we're done, best my understanding is we're going to have a system that makes it possible for our customers to move through efficiently with disclosure throughout the process. And so I appreciate all the work that you've done to negotiate, renegotiate, and refactor all of this over time.
I just want to add on to, I've seen Bill and his team, the IT team, working very hard in the office, sometimes late in the day,
Yep.
sometimes late in the night, and sometimes even on the weekend. So I really appreciate you working so hard on it with your whole team. I know the whole team is very helpful. So I think to make it more user-friendly, you know, I have no problem with it, or with this addition. And in the future, if you still need more, come back to us, and you really need it, okay?
All right, great, thank you very much. All right, all right. Please vote with your lights.
The motion carries unanimously.
All right, at this point, as promised, it's a fairly light agenda. Madam City Clerk, if you would confirm that there are no second readings, public hearings, or ordinances and action items, we'll go on to the last item on our agenda.
That is correct. No further items.
Excellent. Item number 7 is the reports out by council and staff. And Madam City Manager, are there any reports from staff at this time?
No, thank you.
Excellent. Would anyone from council like to provide reports out from council since our last meeting of October 15th?
Yeah, I want to thank Mayor and Council Member Stephen Sharp, come to the delegation from Shenzhen. Their Vice Mayor was here this morning. Was very interesting dialogue. And then Shenzhen, very interesting. We just learned today, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they only have 30,000 people. Now this city has 20 million people. 20 million people, okay. You know how many people we have in Bay Area? $7.2 million. 7.2 million people, okay. So it's almost 3 times bigger than the entire Bay Area. And so Shenzhen is one of the high-tech centers in China. So there's a lot of technology that they have been developed, like a Tengshin and the DJ company, Dajiang, who is doing the drone, the #1 in the world. Okay, so there's a lot of technology development in Shenzhen. It's very similar to high-tech center here. So I'm very glad that we have built in the Friendship City relationship, and I want to thank my mayor, city council Steve Sharp, and also city manager was there, and Angela Tree also. So hope this will continue going. My term will be ended probably about 1 month from now today. So hopefully you guys can continue. There's a 30 city that we have a Friendship City from China, and you can build more with other countries.
Did you say 30, Barry?
30, yeah.
I think it's is it 31 or 29? Something like that. Okay, well, thank you, Councilmember Chang. Would anyone like to go next? Councilmember Scharf?
Yeah, expanding on this morning, one question I asked the people from Shenzhen when they mentioned the extensive metro system they've built with how many miles so far?
283 miles.
And 1,000, going up to 1,000. And I asked them how they funded this, and the answer, well, they tax the corporations in Shenzhen, which has a lot of manufacturing there. So that was something maybe the Bay Area could learn from as we try to hopefully develop a world-class transit system long after all of us are gone from here.
Yeah, just want to add on to a subway system there. It's just like our BART here, probably even more advanced than BART. And most of the night are underground. So
So, okay, besides, I went to all the Shinchu Sister City events, very nice luncheon and dinner on, was that Friday night?
Quinlan, yeah, Quinlan.
Very nice, at Quinlan. And the week before, I was at the Santa Clara County JPA meeting for the library, and they are funding more hours for all the libraries for Sunday hours. Now, since we've already funded them from the city, we will have the option to use that money to expand the hours even more, or instead of the city providing some of the money, it would come from the county instead. And I guess we'll have to be choosing in the future which option it is. I always like to expand the library hours. Maybe it kind of mitigates the parking situation when you spread the usage over a greater number of hours. Let's see, I did not go to the water meeting. I was ill, so.
I think Director Borden.
Yeah, Director Borden went instead. I don't think he's here anymore.
Oh, he's there.
Oh, he is, okay. And yeah, I think that's all I have.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Thank you, Councilmember Scharf. Councilmember Vaidyanathan, would you care to share?
I also went to a couple of the Shinchu Sister City delegation events. Could not do the events with the food because I invariably am the squeaky wheel that demands vegetarian and it becomes an issue. So I stayed away from those events, but it was fabulous meeting with the kids and the host families. I also went to a few block parties over last weekend, and I thought they were block parties, but they all ended up being Q&A about certain issues in our city. But it was good. It was able to interact with the people in residential neighborhoods because they had some specific questions. It was good to give them some clarification. And of course, there have been many, many Diwali events where I've had an opportunity to represent our city. And the VTA board meeting, the last one, was interesting because considering changing some of the HOV lanes to express lanes, especially where the county line changes, so it's 237, 880. And this is going to be county-wide, Bay Area-wide, trying to bring some uniformity. It'll happen eventually, but the first steps have been taken.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember Vaidyanathan. Vice Mayor Sinks?
Thank you very much. Well, I too was at that Friday dinner for our sister city guests. And how many students did we have?
25.
25, yeah. So we brought each family, host family up and student individually and honored them. So it was quite a process, and but a good process. We had, a robust crowd there, and everybody seemed to be having a great time. And even our city manager came, right? So it was a good event. I will add to what Stephen said. You don't need to go to China to look at alternatives to how we fund things. We pay between 9 and 9.5% in sales tax in our local counties. In the Portland metro area, they pay no sales tax. In fact, they have no sales tax throughout the state of Oregon. But 3 counties in the Portland area, the most of 3 counties, have a 0.75% tax on payroll that employers pay. Employee count 1 up to however many. And this is what funds day-to-day operations for transit. And they've built a very successful system through getting the job done objectively on behalf of all the employers who are the primary payees of this system. Payers, I guess, of the system. So there are indeed other models for how to get the job done financially. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember Sinks. The Shinzu delegation wasn't the only student delegation that was here from our sister cities this past few weeks. There's actually another delegation from Bhubaneswar that kind of went through our city council meeting from October 15th. And so we had a very nice farewell for them as well later in that week. On October 19th, we had Pizza and Politics, which was put on by our teen commission. That was very interesting. We had Assemblymember Lowe was speaking, and we also had mayors from Cupertino, Saratoga, and Campbell. So myself, Mayor Mary Lynn Bernald from Saratoga and Mayor Paul Resnikoff from Campbell were here answering questions of the various teens that are very actively involved and committed in politics. So it was very nice to see. There have been, as Councilmember Vaidyanathan mentioned, a number of Diwali events. We had one here in Community Hall. There was one over at the county, and actually yesterday there was one I went to in Fremont, which is very interesting. Fremont, next to their city hall, has activated a town center program, and they hired an outside vendor at a relatively low cost to activate the rather large space next to their city hall area for outdoor events. And so that was an interesting idea. They had actually put up a dome-like structure made out of metal triangles that nicely secured off a space in a parking lot for people to have entertainment. And so, it's nice to be able to go out to other cities and see and have those other ideas. So I received that contact information, and perhaps there are some spaces in Cupertino that could benefit from that type of outreach as well. Certainly our neighborhood events from Parks and Recreation Department this past season was very successful in that regard, and maybe that could complement. On October 26th, there was a public safety forum, and that was here in Community Hall as well. It was fairly well attended, and members of the Sheriff's Office, our CERT program, the Fire Department, a number of the other public safety organizations were here in this area speaking on what they do, and a good amount of the number of the public attended as well. That was taped, and so you can see that in archives. That was very capably handled and brought forward to the community by our Public Safety Commission. And then on the 27th, the following day, there was a city bike ride, and that was held and headquartered, I guess, from here in the parking lot of City Hall. So I thought that was a very successful event. It was a nice event to bring forward the biking awareness, and there were two different routes that people were able to bike. As for myself, I had a few events to go to that day and wasn't able to join the ride. But interestingly enough, Curly's, the outdoor store that had previously sold firearms in Stevens Creek, has been converted into Trailhead Cyclery. And so later that day, there was a ribbon cutting, appropriately enough, for that particular business. And so, it was very nice to see that type of space repurposed, and hopefully we can continue with our bike plans and making it more pedestrian as well as bike friendly throughout our city. But that is the conclusion of our meeting this evening on November 5th. And
can I make one
Vice
more
Mayor
comment?
Sings? Yeah, sure, of course.
I feel like after what happened on oral communication, people ought to understand, if you are wondering what's been going on with our city attorney, everybody's curious. It's a personnel matter. We have been very carefully warned that making public comment could jeopardize our city's case. And so for those of us who wonder why some of us up here have been completely silent, I think it makes three of us, right? Stephen, Savita, and I. It's not because we don't want to say things. We'd love to say things. But we've been asked not to. And so I hope that the public understands that we are taking direction from legal counsel. It's nothing more than that. I'm hopeful that if this does come to trial, that we'll be able to tell our side of this story. But I wanted you to know that based on what was done up here earlier. And I look forward to getting the facts out on the table if conditions so allow. But we can't be talking about this case at this time based on the advice of legal counsel. So I wanted to clarify that for everybody. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Vice Mayor Sinks, for that. And I think there were a couple of items from oral communications to follow up on. So before we have any kind of formal mechanism for doing that, please look into the record there, Madam City Attorney. And so this concludes our November 5th, 2018 meeting of the Cupertino City Council. Thank you. Please vote tomorrow. It's a privilege and a duty. One more item that I would like to add. On Sunday, November 11th at 11 a.m. at our Memorial Park, there will be a Veterans Day ceremony. And so please attend that to honor our military and those who serve to defend our freedoms and liberties. So thank you very much. We will see you on November 20th at 6:45 p.m. Meeting adjourned.